What's up guys, we got a new trailer for KoFXV coming from the Gamescon event, so let's go ahead and break down all the new info. So the first thing they called out in the trailer is 39 fighters get in the ring, which means the starting base roster is going to be 13 teams and probably one boss character. So that means we're at 40 characters and down 10 characters from 14, which is kind of surprising considering how most of the models, moves, and mechanics were imported from 14. But hey, still, 40 characters is really high, especially compared to other fighting games which start off with 12 and 16 characters, right? So still props to SNK for maintaining a high roster count. Alright, so we finally have a screenshot of the character select screen, which gives us a pretty good idea of what the remaining characters are going to be. So let's go ahead and make some guesses here. So starting with Team Ash, Elizabeth and Kukri are the obvious choices. It just makes sense story-wise. Team K-Dash, Kula, and Maxima are going to be the obvious choices here. If they're going to shatter expectations, I think they might swap out Maxima for either Whip or Angel, which I think is even less likely. And either way, I don't think that's probably going to happen. But if it does, that's probably what they're going to go with. And then we got a couple new characters from the trailer. So we got this new girl. I think she's going to team up with the other new girl. And I think possibly the third character would be Hydern. And the reason I say that is because Clark, Ralph, and Leona already teamed up with each other, so Hydern doesn't have anybody to team up with. Now there is Whip and Seth, right? Those are two characters that work under Hydern, but I just don't think that those two characters are going to be in 15, so that's why I think Hydern would probably fit with these two characters. And then we got one more team here, and this is honestly a toss-up between anybody, right? It could be Angel and a couple other characters. It could be Kim. It could be Kenzo or Chin, so these are all legacy characters that are popular. I mean, it could even be Geese's team, so who knows? It could really be anybody. I don't have a good guess here. And then a boss character. This is probably going to be the boss character because it's only one box compared to the rest of these, which are all three. And then the rest of these are probably DLC characters. So we know we're going to get 6 already. So this is going to be another 6. So in total, what is that? We got 39. 40, 43, 46, probably looking at 52 characters by the time we get all the DLC characters in. Alright, moving on, we finally have information on system mechanics and how much bar that some of these mechanics are going to cost. So let's go ahead and start with max mode and max mode quick, which basically works the same way as they did in 14 with some differences. So in 14 you couldn't use EX moves unless you were in max mode, and to be in max mode you would have to spend a bar. And during this mode, you could use EX moves until the gauge runs out. So if you look closely at the Shun'ei portion, he activates it. It's a large blue bar, and when he uses EX moves, this bar depletes. Now, alternatively, if you use this max mode as a hit confirm, the bar is actually half the size. So you can see that the blue bar is this large during a raw max mode activation, but during max mode quick, it turns out to be half the size. So the trade-off is that if you use this as a hit confirm, you get to use less EX moves. Now in 15, the way it works is there's a couple major differences. So it works the same, but it costs 2 bars instead of 1, which I think it makes a lot of sense. Because back in 14, you could use 1 bar and get 40 to 50%, which is just an absurd amount of damage. The other major difference is that EX moves can be used outside of max modes. You don't have to go into these max modes to use EX moves. So that begs the question of what is the perk of a raw max mode activation? What is the perk of the blue activation, right? Because with the trade-off of using 2 bars, you already get to use 4 EX moves, right? In this game, EX moves cost 50%. Now, it's hard to tell how many moves you can use in max mode, but in 15, if you can use more than that, sure. But I think the perk probably has something to do with those combos that we've been seeing in the trailers where you can go into level 1 to level 2 to a climax super. But yeah, it doesn't really show or confirm anything here, so we just have to wait and find out. Another interesting tidbit is that the little run-up that happens after Quick Max is pretty much confirmed. So you can see that Meiten-kun goes into Quick Max and then he moves up a little bit. And then he does his charge move, which you have to hold back to perform. Now in 14, you do get an automatic run after popping Quick Max, but you can override it with any other command. So in 14, if Meiten-kun was charging, he would not be getting this little dash up that you see in this trailer. So it looks like the dash overrides your charge motion in 15. And if this is true, then this would help charge characters a lot, because quick max mechanic has always been an execution dilemma in 14 where you need to hold down back to get your charge move, but then you're not close enough to get your close normal. So it's a really good change for charge characters to get this automatic dash up. Alright, so we finally have a name for the armored blowback mechanic, and it's called Shatter Strike. So we've already gone over this mechanic in the previous breakdowns, but basically it's a reversal-like tool that crumples them on hit. If you hit a grounded opponent, or if you hit an aerial opponent, it wall bounces them instead. But either way, you get a free juggle off of this move. So if you slow this down, it looks like it costs 1 bar, and if it connects, you get half a bar back. Right? You can clearly see that. And then also notice that in this game, there's a punish notification on the side here. So this is something that fighting games have been starting to do lately, where it lets you know that if you block something that's unsafe and you hit them before they fully recover, then you've punished them on time, which I think is a great, quality of life change that should be included in all fighting games. So it really helps with people's matchup knowledge, where they see a move they're not familiar with, they get to punish it, and they're just like, okay, so that's what works. So good changes here. I already mentioned this when I covered max mode mechanics, but I just want to show that EX moves are usable outside of max mode. They cost half a bar. Being able to use EX moves outside of max mode is probably the single greatest change from 14, because characters aren't locked behind an activation mechanic to use EX moves. And I also wanted to make a comment on the UI while mounted. So this blue bar here that says max mode OK. So when we originally saw the leaked screenshots over the weekend, everyone thought that this was a separate bar for a different kind of activation. But really it's a notification to let you know that you can pop max mode. Now if you look over to Shun'ei's side, where he doesn't have that notification, it's because he's got less than 2 bars. So this makes a lot of sense, because if you're coming from 14 where it only takes 1 bar to go into max mode, it can get pretty confusing for some people. So a notification to let you know that you can actually use the mechanic is probably useful. Now finally, we also have the health gauge up here, which you can see is equally divided between 10 segments, each one supposed to represent 100 HP for a total of 1000 HP. So that's kind of how it's always been in KOF, except in 14 they had a major update where some characters got above 1000 health or below 1000 health, and it was just one of the worst changes to that game. So I really hope that they bring back the universal 1000 life for each character. Alright, this next piece of detail is a little bit hard to spot unless you were paying really close attention, but when you select the character, it looks like you get to choose from 8 colors, because you can tell from the 8 little dots up here, the left and right arrows. I'm assuming you toggle between the colors, and this color bar right here. And another nice thing is this little portrait. Now in the trailer it doesn't show anybody selected between the colors. Again, SNK working your fucking marketing. But I would assume that if you were to try to select a color, it would show you what the color would look like. Otherwise, why would they even have this portrait? So if that's true, that's a great change, because in 14 when you selected the color, you don't get to see what it looks like until you enter battle, which is pretty dang annoying. I still would have preferred to have color edit, but starting with 8 colors is a whole lot more than what I was expecting, and definitely better than 14, where the game initially started with 4 colors, and then there was an update that added 2 more colors. And even then, it's still better than most other fighting games, which start you off with maybe 6 or less colors, or they make you unlock colors, and to incentivize you buying DLC, in case you get too lazy to unlock the colors, you just purchase it as an option. So for us to start off with 8 colors right off the bat is a really good change. Alright, next up is the DJ station. So this is fucking huge and should be a feature in every fighting game. And if you don't know what this is, think of Tekken 7's Jukebox or Smash Bros. Music Selection, where you basically have a repository of all the soundtracks from all the games, and you can assign a theme to any stage. Now here it doesn't show any options to assign it to any stage, but I took a snippet from the website that says players can customize their fights to have their favorite tracks play in the background. And if you look in the trailer, it also says, where is it? It also says put on your favorite track while you bust some heads. So again, this pretty much confirms what we want to know. Honestly, this is one of the best news coming out of this trailer. This is not an observation, but something I'm just hoping for, which is a proper lobby. I want to be able to create a room for just my friends two people go at it, the other guys can watch without having to use a share screen in Discord, and then take turns without having to kick someone out and then re-invite somebody. It's just what a lobby should be, right? In a situation where there's a pandemic and nobody's hanging out in person, right? This is something that we're hoping for. Now, I'm hoping room match is what that is, and again, I just wish SNK would just properly show how it's gonna look like. But again, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see as usual. So while I was watching this trailer, I noticed a big change to Shun'ei. So his EX Red Fist, which is the quarter circle back punches, doesn't wall bounce anymore. And this is definitely a nerf, but in my opinion it's a justified nerf because his damage output with bar is above average compared to the rest of the cast. And the reason for this is that he's got 3 freaking EX moves that put you in a juggle state. So he's got the DP, he's got the Red Fist, and then he's got his aerial Blue Claw, and you could basically use all 3 in the same combo for ridiculous damage. And if you think I'm lying, go look at any Japanese or Chinese KOF tournament. Everyone has a freaking Shun'ei, right? He's one of the few characters who can breach 50% on just 1 bar. And in a game where EX moves are going to cost half a bar, I think this nerf makes sense. The other change for Shun'ei is a new climax animation, including the initial hit. So in 14, the initial hit is that he just takes into the sky, and that's the hitbox. But in 15, he stays on the ground and he shoots out his arms instead. Now, I don't think this changes the hitbox too much because it's still a vertical hitbox, but maybe the vertical hitbox in 15 is a little bit wider, which would help him. But yeah, these are the only changes I've seen for any character in this trailer. Yeah, so final thoughts, I'm fucking hyped. The game looks fucking great. I'm gonna get both the Steam version and the console versions. I'm gonna take a few days off this week, the week of this release, to dive into the game, stream it, get some early tutorials out there, upload some optimal combos, have a lot of sessions with the guys, go to Evo, all that good shit. I want to create a lot of content for this game, show people how to play the game, do some character tutorials, dispel some misconceptions and myths, debunk some stupid ass tier lists and things like that. But yeah, I hope SNK goes back to showing weekly trailers without any further delays because I just really want to see who else we're getting already. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Until next time.